Welcome to the Show Day podcast. Today is July 3rd, 2019. Last night we had one show in East Rutherford, New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. I was there. I'll talk about some of the cores I saw last night, as well as a fun moment during the Blue Coats show. And also, we had another show called the Northwoods Encore in Wisconsin, so I'll get to that as well. That plus more today on the Show Day podcast. So, as I said last night, East Rutherford, New Jersey, Drum Corps American Tradition at MetLife Stadium show hosted by the Cadets. Here you see the open class recap for the night. We had 7th Regiment Raiders and Encore in attendance. Placement went as pretty much we had expected. No real storylines coming off of this recap here in general effect or visual. Kind of just going as is, 1s, 2s, and 3s. And then over in music, kind of that same thing, but Encore does move past the Raiders in brass, an 11-4 to an 11-1, but that's not enough for Encore to pull ahead of the Raiders in overall music. 7th Regiment wins the show with a 57.3, a good score for them. Raiders a 49.35, and then Encore with a 47.45. So over on the world-class side of things last night at MetLife Stadium, there are a few storylines that came out of this, but the one big thing I want to point out here is nothing to do with scores at all. And really what it has to do with is just a fun thing that happened last night, and it's with the Blue Coats. First half of the show, they perform, and it starts raining. It had rained earlier in the night during Music City, and then during intermission. And then it ended. Boston came out, performed, everything was fine. Blue Coats came out, started drizzling, and then it really started pouring. It was just a brief shower, too. It was nothing, it wasn't like a blob of rain or anything. So, the Blue Coats perform. They get to the part in their show where the Corps holds up the peace sign and they shout blue, and the drum majors cut them off. And everybody's kind of looking around like, what's going on here? The judges, they were actually one of the funniest things. They're all looking around like, why they stop? Like, obviously because of the rain, but like, why just stop all of a sudden? And obviously there's the reasons they stop. Electronics, you have to cover them all up. Running around on those ramps with them wet is not going to end well. And so, really, it was probably the best decision. But they ended that first half and they stopped, and then they circled around in the middle of the field, and they waited for it to pass. It passed, and then they mopped everything off. They kind of lined everything back up. It was like the middle of rehearsal. And they resumed in the middle of their show, and they did it to the end, and it was fun. And yeah, but kind of the point I'm trying to make here is don't read too much of this Blue Coats score. It's about 2 points ahead of Boston, but I'm not going to talk too much about those two being together until later in the season because of this freak event that happened, because the judges judged and then they took 10 minutes off and then went back to judge. Like, not really the best thing when we're looking at recaps and everything. The big storyline that comes out of this, though, and it really has nothing to do with those top four, it has to do with Jersey Surf. This is their highest opening score since 2009. Coming close to Music City, defeating them in visual analysis. Good stuff coming for them last night. And then over in music, Blue Coats, they have all ones. As I said earlier, they really were dominant here. But the big thing, other than Surf, is the Cadets. And look at that percussion score. The 2-1-2, the one in achievement. I'm really getting down to the nitty gritty here, but being only a tenth behind the Bluecoats, they were 2/10 back. In their last contest against them, they are only a tenth back last night. The Cadets are, I mean, look at the brass scores, 1.3 back. They're not necessarily close to Bluecoats or Boston or anybody up there. But look at this percussion score. If the Cadets could even, if you win top three and you're the Cadets, that's big because just with them kind of sliding down, now they're in the seventh range. I don't see them dropping out of seventh. That show is good, and really there's some really good moments of the show. And if that percussion score can kind of pull them up and really really keep them, not only keep them like in the top seven, but also like think of what could happen if the Cadets were to win percussion in Indy. Like it would be amazing for them to do that. And I think it's a really good possibility. The Bluecoats percussion is good. Boston percussion was one of the best last year, and they're kind of struggling this year. They're 8/10 back of the Bluecoats. That's not good. But just variety of things on this Cadets, Bluecoats, percussion, all that. But when I go back to Jersey Surf and them scoring a 63.95, that show is an improvement. They've kind of gone back to where they needed to go. I said that this is kind of a half make or break year for them. Sure, you can come out in the coming years with a show that's not going to make semifinals, but you gotta still have the stuff to recruit kids to be in the core. And what they've been doing has not necessarily been doing that. But now this year, it seems like they've turned around the show, the production a little bit, and it seems like they're doing pretty well. I'm excited to see how they progress. They go down to the Southeast now, then they'll work their way around the country. It just seems like they might have struck where they needed to be. And I'm not thinking that they are necessarily up with Music City or any of those cores, but definitely is a semifinalist contender this season. Second show last night, the Northwoods Encore in Schofield, Wisconsin. Open class scores 2 here in attendance. You got River City Rhythm and you got the Colt Cadets. This battle between these two, they always are together early in the season because of their geographic locations, and now they always start out really close, and then by the end of the season, they're separated by quite a few points. River City Rhythm was kind of breakout core last year, and it seems as though they were going in the right direction. It still seems like they are. The Colt Cadets also seem like they are much improved this year as well. Like, see, in visual proficiency, you've got Colt Cadets ahead of River City Rhythm by 2/10, a 9.7 to a 9.5. And there's not really a lot of battling for a finalist spot in open class. I believe there's 12 or 13 cores, so I'm sure everybody will make it. But just think of River City Rhythm as a core that could maybe get up into the top 5 this year with taking away Blue Devils B, with taking away the Vanguard Cadets. Over in music, not a lot to talk about with River City Rhythm and the Colt Cadets, but look at the overall totals here. 52 even for River City Rhythm. Colt Cadets at a 47.65. As these core shows start to develop, they'll definitely exceed those scores, obviously. Colt Cadets, that 47.65 is kind of where they've been stuck, and they're going to try to get higher than that, and I think by the time they have their next contest, which is tonight, but throughout the coming days and weeks, they'll definitely improve on that significantly. In world class in Wisconsin last night, look at the Blue Stars line. General effect, all ones. Visual, you've got all ones as well. Nothing really big to talk about overall in the show in general effect. Blue Stars, the 30.5, 29.9 for Crossman, 27-9 for Colts, and 27 even for Madison. You look over at visual, again, not a whole lot to talk about. I was talking about the Blue Stars having all ones here. I think that shows how they've kind of pulled away from the Crossmen a little bit. Look at color guard, though. Crossmen are still kind of there, only a 10th back of the Blue Stars. And then Colts and Madison kind of shaking things up in color guard. I expected Madison to close in on the Colts last night because of Madison going on last and the Colts going on before intermission, but it doesn't seem as though much happened along those lines. Music, brass, you've got, again, Crossman kind of trying to close in on the Blue Stars, but general effect is kind of so much for that, and then visual contributes to that, and then you end up with the percussion score, which is just not what the Crossmen want to talk about. That really hurts the Crossmen. I mean, look at the percussion score. You're 4, 13.5, 1.3 back of the Blue Stars. You can't be having that at this point in the season. Because if you're having that now, it's not going to get any better as you go along. So I'm not sure really what they can do there. They're a 10th back of Madison in both of those sub captions, so they're 2/10ths back in percussion, but then that hurts their music score so much. But lucky for them, these other cores, like the Mandarins, that are kind of sitting right on that, not necessarily finalist bubble, but like above the finalist bubble, that doesn't have to worry about making finals. Though out of those cores, they're not all necessarily extremely strong in music. Look at the overall totals here: 75-9-5 for the Blue Stars, 74 even for the Crossmen, 69-3-5 for the Colts, and a 67-6 for Madison Scouts. Everybody seems to be going in the right direction. Madison obviously want to be better than they are right now. Crossmen have some weak spots like percussion. The Blue Stars really don't have any weak spots, at least against these cores. And then the Colts, I think, are really the core out of all of these that are kind of feeling the best right now, I think. Tonight we have 2 shows. They're not heavy hitters, but still 2 more shows to tick away on the 2019 Drum Corps International Summer Tour. First is in Ashland, Oregon. Rogue DCI. This is the beginning of the Pacific Northwest Tour of the DCI 2019 campaign. 7:30 Pacific time will be the Welcome National Anthem. Only 3 corps in attendance here. Scores still are announced at this show. I'm gonna infer that this is a partial panel like we saw in Mesa, where we have this really limited lineup. It's not really, there's no point in bringing in 8 judges for a show with 3 corps. When you have more judges than corps, that's not a good thing. But it's a significant margin when it's like 8-3. That's not good. 740 World Class Genesis, 803 Blue Knights, 826 Blue Devils, 849 Encore, and scores announced, but each of these corps, they'll perform their show, and then they have a brief, like, 6-minute encore after their show. So, really, this one, not a whole lot to say anything about. The Blue Devils, sure, get 80 tonight. I'm sure they'll have no problem doing so. This show is at SOU Raider Stadium, Southern Oregon University in Ashland. Weather for this one looks really good. A good 3 corps show. You get a little bit of everything. You get some of the top corps, you get some of the kind of whatever the Blue Knights ranking would be, and you get some of Genesis, a little bit of a lower placing world class corps, but still they all have very quality productions. The second show tonight, this one's definitely more significant than the other, but it's pretty much the same event we saw last night at Phantom. This is the Rotary Music Festival in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. Everything on here is Central Time, so it gets underway 7 o'clock Central Time. Welcome National Anthem. Two open class scores. Once again, you got the Colt Cadets and you've got River City Rhythm. Definitely look for both of their scores to go up. I'd like to see Colt Cadets break a 48 or 49 tonight to get their score to go up, at River City Rhythm maybe a 53, 54. World class, we've got these 5 cores, as I said, add in Phantom. They had a day to rehearse, and actually 2 days to rehearse. So how can what they've been doing in rehearsal contribute to the overall product on the field is going to be kind of the big thing for them tonight. Can they continue their color guard score upward? Can their percussion score stay where it is? And can some of their other scores also kind of go up to where they need to be right now? All of that, I think, will kind of be answered tonight. Blue Stars go on last at this one. We also got Crossman, Colts, and Madison. 9:36 and Encore, and then 10 o'clock Central Time scores will be announced. The Rotary Music Festival is at Cedarburg High School in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. This show here, we might have to worry about rain. It's not looking extremely promising. There's a 51% chance of rain at 7, where I have thunderstorms on here. Goes down throughout the show, but not significantly. It goes from 51 to 40 to 34 precipitation chance, but then it goes back up like at 10, 11, 12. So really, I hope they can get this one in, even if it has to be delayed or something of the sort. I'm sure they can find some way to get it in, as long as the field's not grass, which I'm not 100% sure on. So, thanks for watching the podcast today. Just a few things now. Make sure to visit my website, drumcorpscentral.weebly.com, for all the latest updates from the DCI and DCA summer tours. Score schedules, leaderboards, and more can all be found at my own personal website about all things drum corps. Make sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Drum Corps Geek, and subscribe to the Show Day podcast on YouTube, where this podcast and more will be posted. And finally, leave your thoughts in the comment sections. Questions, input, comments, etc. would all be greatly appreciated. So, thank you for watching today. I'll be back tomorrow with the July 4th edition of the Show Day podcast. So, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.